everyone, so today I have a Q&A video for you, and I got so many questions when I put out a request for questions on Instagram and Facebook that I'm going to have to do this as two separate videos. So today is the Instagram side of things. Hopefully I don't have to split this into two videos, it depends how long it is, so I'm going to get right onto it. So first up, Lucille Ann XO says, what are your favourite quick service restaurants in each of the Disney parks? Okay, probably Magic Kingdom would be our guest. Obviously at breakfast or lunch, dinner is table service, but for quick service, breakfast or lunch would be our guest. In Epcot, I would say the quick service in France, which is Boulangerie Patisserie, I think it's called. That would be my favourite there. In Animal Kingdom, I would have to say Satuli Canteen. I think the food is a little bit different there, which is good. And Hollywood Studios is a tough one because I'm not particularly taken by any of the counter service there. Backlot Express is quite good, and Rosie's All American Diner, I think it's called, which is on the way up to Tower of Terror. There's nothing particularly exciting about it, but they do have a fried green tomato sandwich, which is amazing, so I would probably have to say that. Connor Lennon says, why do you never go to water parks in your Florida vlogs? That is a really good question, and I'm surprised more people don't ask that. Basically, it's not really my thing. I don't love water parks, and with my condition I have a condition that affects my nervous system, so balance and stuff is bad for me, so water slides are not something I would feel particularly safe on. I'm a good swimmer, I'm fine at swimming, but actually being on water slides, just not really my thing. However, I do want to go to them for the vlogs so that you guys can see. So this trip coming up in November, we will probably go to Volcano Bay in Universal because we have a week at Aventura, which is not too far from there, and then we will probably do the Disney ones on another trip. I quite like, you know, the wave pool and stuff like that. It's just the slides and stuff are not really my thing, so that's kind of why we don't prioritise them. It's just something that I haven't done before, but I definitely will do them on an upcoming trip. Lois Ford X says, do you need a ticket to go to Disney Springs? No, Disney Springs is available for anybody to go to. Parking is free there as well, so you don't need any kind of park admission or anything like that. D James 04 says, how many times have you been to Walt Disney World Florida, and what is your favourite park to go to? Loving your vlogs and can't wait for new Tokyo and Florida ones. Thank you. Okay, let's do a count. So 2002, 2004, 2005, 2008, 2009, 2011, 2013. Then I went twice in 2015, twice in 2016, 3 times in 2017. I've been once so far in 2018, and then I'm going in November. So 15 so far and 16 when I go in November. And my favourite park is Epcot. Absolutely love it there. Closely followed by Animal Kingdom. Belle Pullman says, have you used the Disability Access Service, and do I have any information about it? I have used it, like I just mentioned. I do have a condition which means standing is difficult for me for long periods of time. It's actually worse than walking, which is crazy. So I have used it. Disney unfortunately do get a problem with people trying to play the system a little bit. They can't ask you for proof of any medical conditions that you have, so they take people at their word, and unfortunately there are always people who abuse it and say that they need it when they don't particularly, which is a real shame for everybody else. But it's basically a system where you can go to an attraction, ask for a return time. If the wait time on the attraction was 3 hours, let's say, your return time would be for 3 hours later. So you still have to wait as long as everybody else would have to ride it. It's just the fact that you don't have to stand in line if that's something that is not possible for you. So I have used it. I'm hoping that going forward I won't always need to, because I do feel like I'm getting a lot better at standing. So as soon as I don't need it anymore, then I won't use it. But you just go to guest services in any of the parks to set that up if it's something that you need. Minnie Chloe X says, how can you pay from your Magic Band if you're from the UK? What type of card can you activate on it? Thanks. So if you're staying at Disney World resorts, you do have to be staying there. You can't do this if you're staying off-site. You can charge purchases to your room using your Magic Band, and you set that up when you check into your resort. The cast member will take the card that you want to use, set you up with a pin and everything, and then you can use that service throughout your trip. The thing is, if you are from the UK, you just want to be careful with charges. So if you use a debit card, in most cases your bank will charge you per transaction and also a currency conversion fee as well, so there's normally 2 fees per transaction that you make, and across the course of your trip that will obviously add up to quite a bit of money. I personally use an Avios, Lloyd's Avios credit card, which doesn't charge anything whatsoever. You obviously just pay for whatever you pay for, so that's nice and easy. And if you don't want to have a credit card, you could get it and then pay it off when you get back. You just have to be disciplined to pay it off when you get back, but I would rather do that than obviously incur a lot of charges. I'm not sure if you are able to link up one of the prepaid currency cards. If anyone's got any information or experience about that, could you comment it below, and then people will be able to see. I've never used a prepaid currency card, so I honestly don't know if you can link those up. It might be a possibility, but again, I'm not sure, so maybe someone else can help with that. Pepperpot04 says, what's better to use, Disney transport or your own car when on property? We're heading to Riverside for our honeymoon in 11 days and don't know what to use. It's a bit of a tricky one whether or not to get a car if you're staying on property. We usually do, just because Ian does prefer to drive and have our own car, just so we can easily come and go as much as we want to. It's not necessary. You do have all of the Disney transport. You have buses, the monorails and water taxis and stuff like that. It's just the case that if you're leaving a park during peak times, sometimes the buses are very busy and can be a little bit stressful if you're tired and your feet are aching and stuff like that. It's much more convenient having your own car. You can just hop on the tram, get in your car and go. However, there are things to consider. If you rent a car, there's the cost, firstly, of renting the car. Disney have also started charging for parking at the resorts. It's more expensive at deluxe resorts, a bit cheaper at moderate, and a bit cheaper again at value resorts, but that's something to consider because that is a daily or nightly charge, I guess, for however long you are staying. So just take that into consideration as well. One thing I would say, if you do get out of the park at the end of the evening and you are tired, you could get an Uber. From Animal Kingdom, it picks up right outside. It's nice and easy. I think Hollywood Studios is not too bad as well. You might just have to walk a little bit out into the parking lot, but it's not too far. In Epcot, it's just across the way from where the parking tram picks up. The only one that's tricky is Magic Kingdom. If you wanted to get an Uber from there, you would have to get the monorail or boat across to the Ticket and Transportation Centre, and you would get your Uber from there. So if you're exhausted and kind of can't be bothered, then you would still have to do that. Having said that, if you've got your own car, you still have to do that same process at Magic Kingdom, because the only type of transport that can pick you up from right outside are the Disney buses and the minivan service. Minivans work in a similar way to Uber, except it's done through Lyft, which is another type of rideshare app. Minivans, however, I think are $25 flat fee, I think, for any journey that you do. That's quite expensive. An Uber wouldn't cost as much as that. If you are desperate and you do want to get away, the quickest way is to walk across to Bay Lake Tower and get an Uber from there, because an Uber can pick up, and that's just a sort of 5-minute walk from the Magic Kingdom. So if you do come out of there and you're like, oh my goodness, I have to get away from here, I can't deal with the buses, I would just quickly walk across to Bay Lake and pick one up there. But there are different options. Like I say, we prefer to rent a car. Other people rely on the transport. It's really difficult to say. It just depends. If you're the sort of person who gets out of a park and you really do just want to be able to leave, then perhaps a car might be the best option. Hard to say. And again, it depends whether you leave the park at peak times. We don't often stay for the fireworks shows and stay till closing, so whenever we're leaving, if it's like 4 or 5 o'clock, normally the buses are not that bad, so we don't find it too much of a problem. But yeah, those are kind of just a few thoughts on that. Travel Rare Kids says, what resort that isn't just DVC do you think has the best pool? I would say probably Yacht and Beach Club. So Yacht Club is just hotel with no DVC. Beach Club is regular hotel rooms and has a DVC section. But from regular hotel point of view, they share a pool called Stormalong Bay, and it's a lot more interesting than some of the other standard pools. They have like water slides and different things. So I would say that's probably the most interesting pool at a hotel that you pay to stay at that isn't DVC. Neve Coleman says, just wondering, do you ever go to Disneyland Paris? Would love to see you do videos on it. I don't, and I've never ever been, which is crazy considering it's the park that is closest to me. It's just something I've never done. I don't really know why, and I do go out to Orlando quite a bit, so obviously if I'm saving for those trips, I don't necessarily have spare cash to go elsewhere. I do want to go. I definitely want to do vlogs on the Disneyland Paris parks, so I will be doing that at some point. I'm not exactly sure when. I definitely do want to see them though. I know a lot of other vloggers do go there and it does look really good. Eventually I want to do all of the Disney parks throughout the world, so I would obviously have to include Paris in that. So watch this space, hopefully at some point I will be doing it. Joshy Marsh says, what got you into vlogging? Was it by watching other people's vlogs? When I started this channel, it actually was called Disney in Detail because I intended to do videos really to help people plan their trips. So, you know, these kind of Q&A videos or resort tours, anything like that, videos about dining plan, lots of different things. That was kind of my intention. And then when I did my first trip after I started the channel, I thought I'll give vlogging a go. I'd watched Tim Tracker for quite a long time and I just thought it would be really interesting to see how that went. And once I uploaded them, everybody loved the vlogs, and as I started doing more and more of them, it just kind of took off, and that seems to be everybody's favourite thing. So, and I really enjoy it. I love vlogging my trips, and it's so great being able to look back on them. I wish I had vlogs from my really early trips in like 2002, 2004. That would be really great to be able to see those. So I really love having the vlogs just as a memory for me. But yeah, it really was because I just thought I'd try it out once I'd already started the channel, and you guys love them. So that was really how it started. Faye Moby says, love your vlogs and website, thank you. What would be your top 3 things to eat at the Disney parks? That is a lot of stuff. Okay, let me just think about this. Dole Whip has to be one of them. That is just so classic, and I've been having those since my very first trip. The next thing is whether it's available. It's very hit and miss, are the cheeseburger egg rolls in the Magic Kingdom. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not, but I love those. They are so good. So I definitely would say those. And I know this snack is also spring roll themed and also pineapple themed, so similar to the 2 things I've already said. But the Polo Lumpia, which is in Pandora, is the snack that you can get there. It's pineapple cream cheese spring roll. Love those. Those would probably be my favourite things. Molly Does Disney says, how did you book your Tokyo Disneyland tickets? Did you book them before you went? If so, where did you find was the best price? So I've taken some advice on this, and I've been advised to get them from the hotel we're staying at, which is Hilton Tokyo Bay. They have a desk there where you can buy the tickets. They do only take cash, which is a bit random, so I need to make sure I take enough cash for those. But that way I can buy them before we actually get to the park on the first morning, and we won't have to queue at the ticket desk there, because I would be really upset to see everybody flooding into the park and I'm stood there trying to buy tickets. So yeah, we're buying them actually at the hotel once we get there. I think you can buy them online from the UK, but a lot of people I've spoken to have said that they just bought them when they get there, so I think that's the best thing to do. I don't think the prices vary very much between ticket sellers like they do for Walt Disney World. There are so many options for tickets there, but I think with Tokyo it's a bit different, so we're just going to buy them when we get there. Tammy Kayla says, is there any other restaurant apart from Be Our Guest in any of the parks? If you're on quick service dining plan, you can reserve to get into the park early for breakfast. Not that I'm aware of. Be Our Guest is a little bit different because it's one of the few counter service restaurants, if not the only one, I'm thinking, that you can book. Most of them you just walk up, so there aren't any other quick service ones that you can get into the park early. Obviously there's lots of table service options, but unless I'm forgetting one, please let me know in the comments if I am incorrect, but I think that's the only one. Midget Jones 35 says, how do you get some music on your blogs when YouTube is so strict over certain songs? How do you know which are fine and which are not? I use a subscription service called Epidemic Sound. You pay monthly and then you can just use any of their music that you want to, and they have so many different options, so that is what I use on both of my channels. Claire Bear Sully 82 says, how does tipping work in Disney World? I'm travelling to Florida next year and would like to know what the expectations are. We have Disney dining plan, thanks. So in Orlando, if you are eating in a sit-down restaurant, the normal expected tip is between 18 and 20%. I normally do tip that unless there's been any kind of problem. And if you have a really bad problem in a restaurant and you're very unhappy with something, the solution is not to not tip anything. The server will then think that you've forgotten or you don't know you're supposed to or something like that. If you ever have a really bad problem or a bad experience, you should ask to speak to the manager. And in terms of the tip, obviously if you think the service was not great, it's up to you how much you tip, but the expected is 18 to 20%, and that's the same if you are on the dining plan. Tip is not included, so you will need to tip on what the food would have cost. the total bill basically, and I think it does say on the bill when it comes, so you can see, and it normally tells you what the suggested is. It kind of works it out for you. So yeah, that would be the same in off-site restaurants as well as at Disney. Disney Gemma says, do you listen to any Disney podcasts, and how is your health now? Love your channel. Thank you. My health is getting much better. Thank you for asking. My walking is getting better all the time. I'm swimming quite a bit and doing other exercise, and yeah, just generally really good. So that's excellent. And in terms of podcasts, I do listen to Lou Mongello. He was the very first person that I ever listened to. He has a podcast called WDW Radio, and before I watched any vlogs or anything like that, I used to listen to his podcast, and I used to listen to the Diz Unplugged, and I now watch their live shows. I will admit I don't watch or listen as much as I used to, because I really miss the old team when they used to have Dustin and Sean and Craig and Pete. It was just dream team. I loved listening and watching then. Since then people have changed around, and because I've been so busy I haven't been watching it as much recently, so maybe I need to give it another try and get back into it, but I do listen and watch them as well. Jonathan Mark says, what new land are you most excited about coming to any Disney park? Mine in the new land's coming to Disneyland Paris. Galaxy's Edge, 100%. I love Star Wars. I'm so excited for that. They're saying it will be open in fall 2019. Obviously, that is a little bit vague. It could be, I guess fall could be anything from, in Disney terms, end of September to end of November, I guess. So it's really difficult if you're trying to plan a trip to make sure it's open, and these things can run behind, I guess. But yeah, I'm so excited. I keep looking at all the information, all the concept art for it, and I just can't wait for that. I'm very excited. Soph Amore says, if you could invent a Disney park ride, what would it be and in which park? I get asked this question quite a bit, and I was thinking about it the other day, and definitely what I would love is to see a ride, probably a roller coaster style ride based on Inside Out. I think that would be so fun. So definitely that would be great. Probably in Hollywood Studios, but they've had quite a lot of new stuff going on, so maybe Magic Kingdom might be a fit for that as well. But yeah, I would love to see that. And they do have the meet and greet with Joy and Sadness at Epcot, so I guess it could be at Epcot, but anywhere really, that would be an amazing ride. Matthew Fish says, do you need a Disney World park ticket to use the monorail and buses, or can anyone use them? Anyone can use them. So if you are not staying at Disney and you want to spend a day just looking around the resorts or going to restaurants in some of the resorts, anything like that, you are free to use the monorail and buses and water taxis as much as you'd like. Beth's Magical Life says, how do you get a disability pass for both Disney and Universal parks? Do you need a doctor's letter like in Paris? Like I said earlier, they are not allowed to ask you for proof, so you don't need a doctor's letter. You would need to go and speak to somebody in guest relations. They will ask you some questions to ascertain whether or not the disability access pass is the correct thing for you, and they will set it up from there. At Universal, I had a bit of an interesting experience. I'd been told that they had a similar system. When I went there, and this was back in November when I was only a few months down the line from being completely paralysed, so I'd had a really tough time and I'd really pushed myself to be able to walk again, and went to guest relations and they told me they don't have anything like that. They said they had recently made all of their queuing areas wheelchair accessible, so the only option was to go in a wheelchair. And I explained to him that I had fought so hard to not need a wheelchair and I didn't feel comfortable doing that, but obviously it would be a struggle for me to stand for that long, and they assured me they don't have a system similar to Disney, and I asked two different people in guest relations, so definitely they told me that they don't. So I know other people have told me they've had different experiences. That was in November 2017, so please let me know in the comments if that's wrong or if you more recently have used anything like that, but that's what I was told. John Parr says, do you like the Disney water parks, and if so, which one is your favourite? Like I mentioned, I haven't been yet. I do think that Typhoon Lagoon looks more like my kind of thing. That's more kind of like island shipwreck themed, and the other one is more like a ski resort, I think, like a snow themed kind of thing. So I think Typhoon Lagoon would probably be my favourite, but I'm looking forward to trying them sometime. Maddie Ohana 37 says, which do you prefer, Food and Wine or Flower and Garden, Halloween or Christmas time at Disney? I do love all of those things. I have to say I prefer the Flower and Garden Festival over Food and Wine. That's just my preference. They have several items that I just really like. They always have great vegetable spring rolls in China. China. They have the frushi in Japan, which is one of my favourite things ever. They have the violet lemonade, so just really, really great things at Flower and Garden. Food and Wine have more food booths than Flower and Garden, and a lot more choice, some more exotic kind of stuff, I would say. So a lot of people do prefer that, but for me it would be Flower and Garden. And in terms of Christmas or Halloween, I prefer Halloween. I do usually end up there at Christmas rather than Halloween. That's just the time of year that I travel. But I love Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. It's absolutely fantastic. But I am going to do Mickey's Very Merry Christmas party this year, so I can't wait to see what that's going to be like. Julie Farmer 72 says, where would you go for lunch at Magic Kingdom if you only had one day? Like I said earlier, I do love Be Our Guest for lunch, but I haven't been to Liberty Tree Tavern for a really long time, so if I only had one day, I think I would probably give that a go. Tam Hello Kitty says, have you ever been to Disneyland in Anaheim, California? If so, do you have any first timer tips? If not, do you plan on going? I haven't been yet, so unfortunately I don't have any first timer tips, but I do really want to go. I want to do all of the Disney parks, and after Tokyo, which we're about to do in a week's time, that would be my next one, to go to California, then probably Paris, and then I would try to do the others. But definitely I would love to go there. Walt obviously was still with us when that park was built, and he's walked around it. I would love to go there just for the kind of history and nostalgia side of it, and it just looks really fun as well, so I can't wait to go. Total Disnerd says, next year my family and I are going to Walt Disney World, and it's my parents' 30th wedding anniversary. I want to book to do something special, but I'm not really sure what to do. Do you have any recommendations? We're kind of restricted since my mum is wheelchair bound. So for something like that, I always think the fireworks are great to incorporate if there's a celebration. And I would recommend doing maybe a fireworks cruise. You can share it with other people to bring the cost down a little bit, because they do have different kind of sized cruises where you can have more or less people. And you can quite often have the music piped in if you want to, which is really good. So you could do a cruise for Happily Ever After or for Illuminations. And I believe with those, they can accommodate people who are using a wheelchair. If your mum doesn't like going on boats, or anyone in your party doesn't like boats, then you could always do a dessert party. So then that's quite a nice occasion as well, and you can obviously watch the fireworks. But I definitely think something firework related. You could think about going to California Grill and watching the fireworks from there, but the viewing deck does get very busy, so I'm not sure that that would be as special. I would probably say the fireworks cruise or a dessert party would be really nice. Okay, Brogan Tate, hi Brogan, she says, what are your top 5 things to do, see, eat, watch, whatever, you get the idea, in each park? Okay, now I've got to get my thinking head on. So, Magic Kingdom, Haunted Mansion, 100%, Dole Whip, Tomorrowland Transit Authority, love that, the people mover, cheeseburger spring rolls if you can get them, and what would be the 5th thing? Probably Big Thunder Mountain. In Epcot, I would have to say Illuminations, Soarin', Spaceship Earth, and getting a cronut is definitely on top of the list. I love those. And what else? Mexico Pavilion, just in general, love the Mexico Pavilion. In Animal Kingdom, I would have to say the Polo Olympia, which I already mentioned, is a snack. Kilimanjaro Safari, Flight of Passage, Navi River Journey, and the Gorilla Falls exploration trail. I love going to see the naked mole rats. I could watch them all day. I think they're so funny, and that's a really random thing to be in my top 5, but I love them. In Hollywood Studios, I would have to go Toy Story Midway Mania, Star Tours, I love that, and Sci-Fi Dine-In for lunch or dinner, love eating there. And Butterfinger Cupcake, which is now called a Peanut Crunch Cupcake. You get that from the Trolley Car Cafe. Amazing snack. Not very good for you, but still amazing. And One Man's Dream, which I think is now called Walt Disney Presents, which is a exhibition about Walt's life. I just love that as well. TJ Lloyd Jones says, hi Victoria, love the vlogs and on this and your other site, thank you. By the way, someone has just mentioned it, so I might as well mention it. I do have another channel. If you haven't seen that or didn't even know about it, it's called Forever 30 something. I will link it below, so you can check that out if you want to see other vlogs. Just wondering, what job do you do? I take it you're self-employed to be able to take enough leave for your trips. I'm going to answer some questions over on the other channel, because I have had some questions in this Q&A that are not Disney related, and this one really is Disney Q&A, so I will answer that question when I do the Q&A over on the other channel. But yes, I am self-employed. I don't need to take annual leave from work, so that is why I'm able to do these trips. I am very fortunate. But yeah, I will answer that and some other questions I got over on the other channel. Grim Grinning Ears UK says, what are you most looking forward to doing or seeing in Tokyo Disney? Can't wait to hear about it. In general, I am most excited for Tokyo Disney Sea. I think it looks like a really unique park, and the ride there that I'm most looking forward to is Journey to the Center of the Earth, which looks amazing. And the other thing I'm most excited for is the merchandise. I've watched people's vlogs and videos, and there is so much stuff there that you can get that you can't get at Disney World. So I just cannot wait to take a look at that merchandise and get some stuff. And I will be getting some things for a giveaway, so make sure you are following on Instagram and Facebook, because that's where I do the giveaways. I will link those below as well. Copper Squirrel says, hi Victoria, in your experience, what are your top hidden gems in each park that are less well known? They don't even have to be attractions. Loving the vlogs, many thanks. So in each park, okay, let's think about this. In Epcot, I would probably just say to really explore the pavilions. So quite often it's tempting to walk around and you maybe dip in and out of them, but you don't go all the way back into the pavilions. And there's quite often things that are quite interesting, and if nothing else, are a great place to cool off if it is very hot weather. So in Japan, there is, when you're coming out of the Mitsukoshi department store, from the section that has all the kind of candy and snack items, there is a little exhibition off to the right hand side, which changes every now and again, but that's a great place to go in to cool off. And if you go into Morocco, that pavilion goes quite far back, so you want to make sure you explore all the different things in there. So yeah, I would really just say explore the pavilions properly, because it's amazing how much people don't. And also I would say Tutto Gusto wine cellar, which is in Italy. That is my favourite place ever, and I don't see a lot of people going there in vlogs. It's just a really nice place to sit down and have a glass of wine. That is one of my favourite things to do there. In Animal Kingdom, I would say the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail that I just mentioned, and the Maharaja Jungle Trek. I always get that wrong, I think that's how you say it. And those are to walk through exhibits, I guess you would say, where you can see lots of different animals and birds. They're easy to miss out when you're running from ride to ride or eating or doing whatever else, but there are lots of animals to be seen there, and you can see them quite up close. So I would say to make sure you don't miss out on those. In Hollywood Studios, it would be probably Walt Disney Presents, which I just mentioned. A lot of people don't go in there, but it's a really interesting look at Walt Disney's life from when he was a child all the way up to opening Disneyland and going on to have the ideas for Walt Disney World. So yeah, I would say that's the one there. And in Magic Kingdom, I would say it's probably my favourite little spot to go and sit down, which is just off Main Street before you get to, I think it's before you get to the Main Street Bakery, which is the Starbucks location. There's a little kind of courtyard off to the side, and you can just go there, hang out, get away from it all, because everybody's normally just up and down Main Street in like a big crowd, and it's just a really nice little side area to go and hang out. So that's probably the one I would say for there. Beck Nanny One says, best tips for going to Disney for the first time. I would say the main thing is take comfortable shoes, never wear new shoes. Make sure you have broken them in first, or you know them to be definitely comfortable, and make sure you plan in to take breaks. When you're planning your first trip, if you are someone who's really organised, it's tempting to kind of plan every moment, every fast pass, everything, but you do need to be a bit careful, because you can easily get totally worn out and end up not enjoying yourself. So just make sure you are allowing rest time, maybe half days in the parks on some of the days. Some friends of mine actually have just come back, and it was their first trip, and they said they were surprised at the beginning how tired you do get. So yeah, just really be aware of taking it easy. Natalie RB says, how do you go about requesting certain areas of resorts when you've just booked a standard view? I heard you have to fax these in, but didn't know if it was still the case. Have you had experience with this, and how was it? You don't need to fax it in anymore. You can just call the resort to request the area that you want to stay in. You can just Google the resort and you'll be able to find the telephone number. And if you have booked from the UK, then just go on to wherever you've booked from. If it's Walt Disney Travel Company, which is like booking direct with Disney, just find the telephone number on there. It'll be a UK number, but you normally do go through to speak to someone who is in the States. And if you have booked with DVC, then you can do the same thing and call through DVC member services. and just let them know. I would normally say 2 choices. So if you're at Saratoga Springs, for example, and you wanted to stay at Grandstand, I would ask for that and a backup. Otherwise, if they can't give you your first choice, you would end up maybe somewhere you definitely don't want to be. So just put that request in. It's never guaranteed. And once you arrive, if they haven't given you the section that you asked for, you can definitely ask again. And sometimes on the spot, they have been able to change me to the section that I wanted. They will always accommodate you if they can. Disney are really good like that. So if you haven't got the section you wanted, you can ask when you get there. Jess McMail says, how do you plan each day of your holiday and how do you decide what to do each day, as well as using the DIB Busy Day Guide? I actually use Undercover Tourist Busy Day Guide. I do use the DIB Vacation Planner, but I find Undercover Tourist Busy Day Guide to be my favourite. And in terms of how I plan each day, I really just, I guess if there's anything specific, so if I'm doing one of the Halloween parties or the Christmas parties, or by that point I've usually booked some ADRs in, so I put in anything that's like definitely happening on a certain day. Then I use the Busy Day Guide just to look at which days are that I definitely shouldn't go to a certain park, and then just really fill it in, spreading it out a bit. So I tend to do all 4 parks towards the beginning of the trip, then do them all again at the end, and yeah, just go from there really. Make sure I've got some downtime planned in as well. Hap Hazami says, have you ever been to Disneyland Paris? If so, how did you like it? If not, do you plan on visiting? Already answered that one. They also say, you've often said Epcot was your favourite park. What about it makes it your favourite? Really, it's how much I love the World Showcase. So like I was saying before, I love going to Italy and having a Bellini or a glass of wine and tutto gusto. I absolutely love Mexico. I just really love wandering the World Showcase. It's one of my favourite things to do. And the other reason is because it was Walt's idea. It was something he was passionate about. He did want it to be a living and working city, which obviously it's not. It's a theme park, but a lot of the ideas that he had are definitely incorporated in the park, and it was just something that he really wanted to do. He was really into the idea, so I guess I love it for that reason as well. Elias Achilleos 1, you guys are making me work with some of these Instagram names. What is your favourite ride in all of Walt Disney World? My favourite ride is Flight of Passage, but my favourite attraction will always be Haunted Mansion. So I'm trying to get away with having a couple there, but yeah, in terms of actual rides, I don't think anyone can say any different. Flight of Passage is amazing. Obviously people can have different opinions, but the actual ride itself is great. But yeah, Haunted Mansion will always be my favourite attraction. A Trotter 1 says, Wi-Fi outside of the parks for ordering an Uber, Walmart in particular, or Target, don't want to get stranded, thanks. In terms of Wi-Fi, you can get Wi-Fi at Target, most other places. If I go to the shopping outlets, there's a Starbucks that's kind of right at the edge, and I just use their Wi-Fi. Walmart is a tricky one because they don't normally have Wi-Fi there. So if I'm in a pinch and I absolutely need to get an Uber from somewhere and there's no Wi-Fi, I just switch my data roaming on. The network that I'm with charge £5 per day that you use your either phone calls, texts or internet while you're abroad. £5 isn't too bad. Obviously it's not ideal, but it's not as if you're going to get a massive bill. So if I'm desperate, I will switch that on. You can get different SIM cards. I think 3 do a SIM card you can put in, but I personally don't want to take my SIM card out because I want my phone to be my number. I think that's still how it works. Anyway, you could do that and look into it as a possibility. But yeah, I just, on the odd occasion, I would switch it on, but I probably have to do that like once in a trip, so it's not too bad. And if you're desperate, you can always just get a cab. There are always cabs outside Walmart, so I don't think you'd be stranded, which is good. SNJ Savage says, love your videos and hope to run into you one day in the parks. That being said, would you ever plan to do a fan trip where you essentially sell spots to join you on a Disney World trip? I think it would be a blast. No, I wouldn't do that. It's just something that Disney don't really like. They can be a little bit funny about, well, it's not that they can be, they definitely are, funny about people doing meet and greets that are not organised by them in the parks. They don't really like that. I know Tim Tracker did something like that once quite a long time ago and they were not happy. Other people have tried to do that, so it's just not a road that I would go down. I do get asked sometimes if I can meet up with people specifically. Obviously it's difficult for me to do that because I wouldn't want to say yes to some people and not to others. So what I generally do when I'm in the parks is say on Instagram and Facebook where I am that day. I'm always posting pictures. So if you happen to be in the same park, then by all means, if you see me, come over and say hi. I love meeting you guys so much. But I wouldn't do like an organised type thing because that's just something that Disney do not like. So those were all the questions for this Instagram Q&A. I did answer them quite quickly because if I linger over the answers for too long, it turns into a really long video and it can be a little bit boring, so I tried to answer them really quickly, and hopefully it was in depth enough. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button to make sure you don't miss any upcoming videos. I will be doing a second Q&A to answer all of the Facebook questions that I got, and like I said before, I will do another one to answer the questions that were not Disney related. I will be doing that at some point soon over on my other channel. At the time I release this video, I will be just about to go to Japan, so if you wanted to make sure you don't miss out on the opportunities for any giveaways, follow along on Instagram and Facebook like I was saying earlier. I will link those below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to watch more of my videos, I will put one up here and another one here, and there will be somewhere around here that you can click to subscribe. Again, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.